Lavrov made it unequivocally clear that Moscow sees no pathway for resuming arms control negotiations with Washington until its anti-Russian course is abandoned. While Russia has suspended its participation in the New START treaty, Lavrov stressed that Moscow continues to adhere to the treaty's central limits on nuclear arms.
Okay, so today we're diving into something pretty serious.
Yeah.
We've got this YouTube video titled, No Longer Viable. Lavrov calls out U.S. for triggering Russia's return to missile deployments.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an interview with Russia's Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov.
Right.
And he's basically saying that Russia's done with their self-imposed ban on deploying these short and medium-range missiles.
Right.
So this could be a really big deal.
Yeah.
For global security for everyone.
It's a major shift.
Yeah.
I mean, what's really striking is how Lavrov is presenting this whole thing. Like, he's putting the blame completely on the U.S., saying that they had no choice because the U.S. deployed similar missiles first.
Yeah, and he uses this phrase, no longer practically viable,
Right.
to describe, their old moratorium on these missiles.
It's very final.
Yeah, it really feels like they're closing the door.
Like they're done talking.
On any kind of arms control talks, yeah.
Exactly, and it's not just about these specific missiles.
Right.
He's accusing the U.S. of ignoring all these warnings from Russia, from China, about how destabilizing these deployments are.
And he keeps talking about this anti-Russian course from the U.S.
Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, what would it take for them to come back to the table?
Exactly. What would the U.S. have to do differently?
Right. It's a little scary, honestly.
Yeah.
And then it gets even more complicated.
Right.
Because he says they're suspending participation in the New START treaty. But they'll still follow the nuclear arms limits.
Right. So what does that even mean?
Yeah, what does that mean for the rest of the world?
It's like, imagine this guardrail on a really dangerous mountain road.
Okay.
That's what New START is. It limits the number of nuclear warheads that the U.S. and Russia can have.
Right.
So it keeps things predictable. It prevents a full-blown arms race.
Yeah.
But if that guardrail disappears, things could get really out of control really fast.
And then, of course, he talks about Ukraine.
Right.
And he's accusing the U.S. and its allies of basically, talking about peace. But at the same time, sending all these weapons to Ukraine, he calls it a road to nowhere, a dead end.
Yeah, this is where it's important to try to see things from Russia's perspective.
Okay.
They see the West, especially arming Ukraine, as a direct threat to their security.
Right.
They don't see it as genuine peacemaking. They see it as an attempt to weaken Russia.
So that's what he means by dead end.
Yeah, like the West is using Ukraine to achieve its own goals.
So it doesn't sound very hopeful?
No, not really.
But he does say that they'll still adhere to the nuclear arms limits.
Right, even though they're suspending participation in New START.
So maybe that's a good sign?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
It could be a signal that they're open to talking again, but only on their terms. And then there's the question of what happens in 2026.
When New START expires.
Exactly. Will we go back to a Cold War arms race?
That's a scary thought.
Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, a lot of uncertainty.
And one thing that really stuck with me was when he said,
the
foundations of international security are shaken.
Yeah, it's a pretty bleak assessment.
It really is.
Of where things are at.
And it's not just about Russia and the U.S. anymore.
Right.
This affects everyone.
Yeah, the whole world.
This breakdown in communication, this lack of trust, it's a problem for the whole global security system.
But what can we do?
That's the big question. How do other countries react?
Yeah.
Do they get pulled into this rivalry, or do they try to find a way to mediate? The future of international cooperation really depends on it.
It's a lot to think about.
It really is.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And thanks to all of you for listening.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.